Hi, welcome everyone. Thank you for attending another webinar with Home Express. Today we're going to be discussing when to pivot to non-QM. As usual, we want to thank you for your partnership and being here with us today. Some of the things that we'll be discussing today during this webinar, we have some great data to share with you, as well as some of our top programs that we currently have. And obviously, we want to discuss some of our technology with you here at Home Express. With us today, we have Mr. David Greider, who is our Senior Vice President of Wholesale Lending, myself, Albert Martinez, who is a corporate trainer here at Home Express, and our special guest today is Dominic Hart, who's one of our top regional sales managers here with the company. So with that, I'd like to hand it off to Mr. Greider. Mr. Greider, go ahead, sir.
Oh, geez, thank you, Albert, and thanks to you for everybody attending today. This morning, if you're on the West Coast, afternoon, if you're on the East Coast, right? So, as we go through this, you're going to get a copy of the deck, right? So everybody that registered for it, but we're looking at, kind of topics that might be relevant for you. And this one actually was recommended by our marketing department, because our marketing department for like I call it the last 2 years, talking about the sound of these marketing pieces need to pivot to non-QM. And we're looking at, okay, what does that mean, right? And I think it has two different meanings. One is you have a loan you're working on today that kind of just doesn't fit within the agency guidelines. It's a good loan, just somehow maybe the tax returns don't work out. There's something about it, might be a property issue, could be a lot of different things. You look at, what do I do with that one particular loan? And we've been talking about that for probably 9, 10 years now. So I've been in non-QM since 2015, and now it's probably predominantly what it is. I mean, what do you do with borrowers that, we go 10 years ago that didn't fit agency or the government programs? Oh, I'd get the answers, nothing. We had to get them into a spot where they fit that because there was no alternatives, right? And so we have an underserved market that has now taken place. So we're going to go through some of the steps. And is this a time, if you haven't pivoted yet, maybe from a standpoint of the loan or in a market strategy, maybe let's take a look at that and look at that key data. But before we go on, Albert, maybe we should have a poll or that type of thing, so that as we start out with that.
Mr. Greider, I couldn't agree with you more. Let's go ahead and
Okay.
let's ask the masses and let's see what they think. Okay, here we go. Do you think that the Chiefs will three-peat this season? Let's see what okay, all right, we're
You're
getting
getting
some
vote.
we're getting some responses. We're
They're
getting
really good, but man, three-peating is very difficult. And I think if you're from Missouri or that geographic area, it's going to be an automatic yes, right? And I live in Northern California, and everybody goes, "Well, you're a San Francisco fan." No, I'm originally from the greater Seattle area, so I'm a Seahawk fan. Take that for what it is. But most of my people around me or my family won't vote for the Niners, so I'm the lone
so
holdout. But so we say no.
it looks like they say no. Only we have seven people in Missouri who says yes.
Is how it is. Okay.
It very well could be.
All
All right,
right,
Mr.
that's
Greider, let's
fun.
go
I
ahead and
love
let's go
football
ahead.
season, so
Yes,
that's
sir.
great.
Yes,
All
sir.
right,
So here we
let's
go.
go and let's take a look at this the next slide here. I'm not going to put a lot of time on this, so I just want to say where the data comes from. And I wanted to have this part of the deck for you, right? But we're going to take a look at some key points. This is from August 15th, the MBA mortgage finance forecast, and it goes all the way out to 26, and kind of see if we get some data from that and look at some trends, and then kind of forecast what's that going to look like as we look at pivoting to non-QM. All right, so we'll go to the next slide, Albert. We'll have some of the key data on there, kind of bigger for you, right? So there's a couple things that even that's not on this bullet point, so it kind of stood out to me, but the median price of existing homes from 24 to 26 overall has a slight decrease, right? But I think it's more geographical and it's very small, right? So overall, you probably see flat. There's gonna be areas that geographically might go up a little bit, some that may go down even more so, depending on, the inventory available, cost of homeowners insurance, property taxes. We kind of know all that. And so it's really important that you know what area you're in. Okay. But let's just look at the volume increases that's expected. We know it's historically low in 2022 and 23 with that rapid increase in rates, right, that we've seen, right? Everybody wanted the loans at the 3.5. I even seen loans in the twos. And that's just not, that's kind of just not a normal market. And that's kind of what we've had. We had some distortions with that based on rates and data with COVID coming out and some of the things they put into place. So I think we're going to get a more stabilized market. I think you're going to see that, and we're going to get a trend up in mortgage volume, right? So what we've seen recently from this report is Q1 and Q2 had about 806 billion of mortgage volume. Q3 and Q4, a lot better, about 950 billion, right? That's this year as we're going forecast for the next several months, which we have seen, with our own company at Home Express. We've seen, we actually had a day this week, we had a record number of units submitted this week of all time. So I think that's going to continue. Then let's look at 25 and 26, kind of what that volume forecast looks. Now, we've got to recognize that even though home values have gone up from historically, from 2019, the units are still going to go up because there is demand. There's a lot of people on the fence that want to buy a house that have been taken out of the market. As rates come down, maybe there's some stabilization. I think one is wages might have to go up too. So it's kind of a two-pronged approach. One, values kind of stay flat, they can maybe get some costs go down and their wages go up, then they can get into that affordability. But 2024 is 1.75 trillion range. 25, a little over 2 trillion, then start heading up to 2.3, maybe 2.4 trillion in 26. But what was really interesting was the rate forecast, right? And they usually get the data from Freddie Mac on what they're expecting. So at the end of 24, 6.5 range. Well, we kind of already see that today. We're about 6.25, probably average conforming 30-year fixed rate. So that's pretty right there. It can fluctuate up and down. But look at those rates as you go into the long end of the yield curve. It's staying pretty flat at 5.9, 5.9. Wow. That's kind of interesting. So the reason I look at that is because we got to look at what kind of market we're going to have in the next year or two, and it can change. Geopolitical things. We have election coming up. We don't know how unemployment. We get bad data on that. Might change the directory of the Feds, what the rate reductions they might have. So there's a lot of things that go into it. So this is just a forecast, and you got to have some type of forecast and plan as you go into the future. But 5.9, that's not far from where we're at 6.25. I think a lot of this is already built in when you look at the Fed fund rates and some of those things right there. So they're already building in kind of where the rates are going to be. So when I look at this, it's going to be rate in term of 25. Let's go a little bit further on this data, right? So let's go to the next slide, Albert, and look at some study and survey that CoreLogic did, right? So what they did is kind of look at all the loans that are serviced, right, that are servicing, and said, when is it going to look like for them if rates get to 6% or so? What is that refinance market going to look like? And so with the locked-in rates, right, they're mostly getting some HELOCs or seconds if they needed cash on that. But to combine those two, I mean, it's very little. Now, in 23 and 22, there are going to be some opportunities for rate and term refinance because rates were even elevated more than they are today. But that's a very kind of smaller percentage as we go through. So I would estimate they probably need closer to 5 for the economics to work of combining the first and the second to have that make sense into one loan. So the question posed is like, where are you going to get the loans in the future if it's not necessarily a rate and term market? And I don't think that's going to be. It's going to be purchases, cash out, and maybe some alternative products so where you can switch to non-QM. So with that, what I think we'll do is have Dominic here come on in and let's look at the non-QM growth. One more slide on this. I think we have, Albert. So I can talk a little bit and kind of already talked about it, but how does this pivot and how did the knowledge get of non-QM? Because I'm going to give you some empirical data, which I have down here, where Home Express has had a real big increase end of last year and this year. But why is that, right? When the mortgage market declines and you need a pivot to something, right? And we also seen in 2023 a lot of normal, just doing conforming government wholesale lenders jump into the non-QM. What that did is spread a whole bunch of knowledge out there to a whole bunch of borrowers that thought, hey, I got to get my tax returns and thing. I got to fix my credit. I got to do these other things. I can't qualify this. I got to stay in the private money market. That opened that up. And so there's a lot more acceptance by borrowers and understanding that there is a loans that you can do for them that are a little more attractive than the private money. So now today, I think non-QM is part of everyday mortgage lending. If it's not, kind of switch to that. So we're actually seeing a pretty big increase this year, and we actually expect it to probably double next year, or triple for us. I think the whole industry that is there. I was trying to get a whole bunch of data, but all I could get is like the securitizations of that. So I didn't want to go in detail on that element, but that is a big part of the securitization market now is as a non-QM. But with that, Dominic, I think talk to us a little bit about what you're seeing, because you talk to AEs, you talk to brokers, all loan officers all day long in your job. Do you have any examples of that where you've seen where someone pivoted to non-QM?
Yeah, I mean, thanks, Dave. Speaking of alternative documentation programs, right? We had a really interesting recent experience with one of our broker partners who really has only ever closed agency loans for, I think she said, the last 25 years of her career. This particular loan officer at the ripe young age of 73, assumed that she knew most of the existing programs in the marketplace that, she could go to close home loans. And kind of meeting with our sales staff, after a few short meetings with one of our account executives, she learned our Asset Express product, which we'll go into detail later, and our P&L program. Well, about that time, she submitted her first loan, and lo and behold, she got an approval. And she closed that loan on our Asset Express program in about 19 days, give or take. She began then to reach out to her realtor partners with the ability to close more loans. She quickly got more loans submitted the following week. And we're very, very proud to say that after 60 days of doing business, she's now closed 7 alternative doc loans. They all closed on time with urgency, and we made some very happy borrowers, not to mention realtors, in the process. So just another testimony to, working with a strong non-QM company such as Home Express.
Jay, thanks for sharing that, Dominic. I think we all kind of have some experiences with that. As someone says, hey, I don't have a lot of volume on my desk. Where are you going to get those? So maybe that'll be another webinar we have is like, how do you get more of these loans, right? How do you market for it? But with that, let's take a look at the top 3 programs. And I kind of put this on here for non-QM. And this is probably 75–80% of the non-QM volume fall in these programs. And if I looked at non-QM, there's a lot out there you do. So the biggest, you don't have to be an expert at knowing this. You need to know kind of the fundamentals. That's what we do these, but you really need to be connected to a highly trained account executive in non-QM. And just for example, when I go through these programs, it could be all day going through one of these programs of everything of how it goes on. But our account executives are very highly trained. I mean, not only they come to our company, we've been around for nearly 9 years now. We do 2 weeks of training with them, and we do ongoing weekly training. So they're highly trained to structure your deal, put you on the right program, right path, so that closes on time. So with that, let's look at the 3 type of programs that are probably the biggest percentage. That's business purpose, right? Our self-employed borrower, tax returns don't work. They have a good accountant, and there's a reason why they go self-employed, right? They like some freedom. They like to have a good accountant and kind of dictate how they do that. And then we have the asset programs, which Dominic mentioned to you. So on the and I'm going to give you some examples of recently closed loans here that were done to kind of show you what that looks like. But our investor program, it starts in, you need a 620 score. I'd say most of them are the DSCR. That's a debt service coverage ratio. And that's just taking the gross rents divided by PITIA. If that's a 1, you get maximum LTV, which is 80. And then even if you go lower than that, we still have programs for you on those, right? So cash out, we've seen a few of those coming up. Large loan amounts, really great. And if you do, we get a lot of full doc ones on this as well. And kind of sort of, well, why? Well, our rates sometimes are way better than the agency business on these. They know that they can get in there, they can get locked into a better rate and make their cash flow even better, right? But we can qualify for an interest-only payment. We don't need a lot of documentation on this, right? So the other good thing with that, you don't necessarily have to be licensed in a particular state to do that. There are certain states you do, but you don't. We have a list for that. Just contact us. We can let you know what states are available where you don't have to be NMLS licensed. Also, kind of expanded the property types, right? So we do short-term rentals, non-warrantable condos, condo hotels. Foreign nationals go on this program, and these are non-TRID, right? So when you're a business person, non-TRID, so there's no, officially LECD. We do send out, some, hey, here's the terms of the loan, so you kind of know what that is. So we believe in full disclosure. So that's probably the one we get the most units on now, not necessarily the same dollar amount, because investors like that cash flow. Those loan amounts are usually a little bit smaller, so they cash flow. Let's look at the other program before we go into examples. The next one would be kind of the self-employed bank statements one. So Albert, there you go. Perfect. There's that kind of little delay, so I apologize for that. This one, all you need is a 600 score to get in. We have LTVs to 90, right, on a purchase, so you can see where that's pretty attractive. DTIs, we have flexibility. If you go up to 55, we do expect a little bit more on the residual income. Loan amounts to 3 million. I say that with plus, we can do a little bit over that if you give us the opportunity to look at that deal. We also, have a standard expense factor. So a lot of companies need to get we also have flexibility to get a tax account letter, right? And so when I look at standard expense factors, it really depends on the business type, and you kind of let us know what that business, how they function, what's their location, employees, is it manufacturing, or is an IT consultant works from home? That's got a very low expense factor, all the way up to somebody who has 4 or 5 manufacturing plants with 1,000 employees. That'd be kind of a higher expense factor. Kind of a very common sense approach. We also have the income desk. What's that mean for you? Is that you can know the income up front. So it's a purchase transaction, self-employed. Let's knock out that income early, able to do that, say, hey, this is the amount we can use. So go ahead and go shop for a house. Here's the budget for you. They can go out with that real estate agent ahead of time so you know what that looks like, right? Also have programs for less than 2 years self-employed and 1099. And what I've seen was, just last 3 or 4 years coming out of COVID, we saw this, I call kind of a migration from urban to more suburban areas or different states altogether. And some of their the way they're paid were changed, or maybe they picked up a gig job where it's on the side to help supplement their income. We're able to deal with that. So if they're less than 2 years self-employed, we can look at that. Now they need to be in that industry for some length of time, supervisor, managerial type of position where then they go self-employed. And we can look at 1099s as well. Some of those 1099s, if it's really a contract employee with a contract, sometimes we can put that into a full doc program. Other thing, we can combine asset assist to qualify. So if they have a lot of assets, but a little short on the DTI, great way to keep those deals going. And our rates are highly competitive, even on the jumbo prime side, right? We are a common sense underwriter. What that means is we take a look at each loan on its own merit. So you might think it doesn't fit, but we can look at compensating factors. We can do all that. So that's why I say, if you think you have a loan, we'd rather have you call us and say, hey, let's just go over this and see if we have a loan here. It would surprise you how many loans we can get done, right? So we're okay with credit events, and we can take on some of those property types they might not think might fit. So again, we're not looking for the dome home on 150 acres in a remote area. Those are difficult. But, we might have something that's the non-warrantable condo, short-term rental, a little on the more rural side. We can take a look at those for you, right? The other product is what Dominic had this one loan officer kind of migrate towards, and it's a great program, right? This is our asset program. Now, our asset program can be like what Dominic said, was asset in full. That's our Asset Express, and all you need is 125% of the liquid asset. And there's a calculation: 100% of your cash equivalency would be like checking, savings. Use 100% of that. 90% of it's a stock, right? Depending on your age, if it's in retirement age, you can use up to 90% of your 401k. If you're underneath retirement age, it's 70%. So you calculate all that out, and you'll see where a lot of people have a lot of cash, but maybe short on DTI, where that's not even a DTI loan. If you have enough assets to cover our loan amount after closing costs and down payment with 125% of the loan amount, you're approved. And these are very, very low condition files, and you can get to decent LTV up to 80. Most people put a lot down on these. Very limited conditions, they close fast, like Dominic did things. So again, reach out to us when you have it. But these are probably the three main programs. So let's take a look at some examples for you. And I randomly took these. I always wait till the week before to put examples for you. So I want to be real. So I go into our recently funded and say, hey, what do these look like, right? To give you an example, these are real deals that are coming in. State of California, cash out refinance. Well, why is it coming to us? Especially when you look at it, it says condotel, right? So by definition, it's a short-term rental, probably non-warrantable, right? It was owned free and clear, needed about $390,000 cash out per easy. When you do the short-term rents and you kind of look at that, the DSCR was high. They needed the money because they want to increase their investment portfolio. But you will see some of that as you see. So there are going to be some areas here that maybe you can pick up some deals, and these investors want to do that. The next one was the state of Florida, a rate and term refinance. You go, oh, okay, well, we said, Dave, you said rate and term refinance is not out there. No, what I'm saying is just that is that a marketing strategy? But this is an investor looking at it, going, hey, I can find a property. I know I got to put a lot of money into it, and I need to get a construction rehab loan, and I'm going to do the takeout afterwards. So that's what this is. This is a kind of construction rehab loan, take it out the end, right? So this one came in. We played off the construction rehab pro bono. The DSCR was great. Appraised value came in just what we needed to get everything done. Nice, happy borrower that now gained some value in his home. Put some work into it and some of his own money into it. But that panned out for him, and now he's on to his next one that he's looking around for on that. But this is just for long-term rents. Let's look at some 12-month bank statements. And I kind of like these two that came up, right? And just to give you an example of borrowers, right? It's like a state of Ohio purchase. You needed 15% down. The purchase price up there at $799, 700 FICO, perfectly good. Self-employed for 25 years, but tax returns didn't work. They owned several child daycare centers that were actually structures out there, not out of the home, with lots of employees. We used a 70% expense factor. Didn't need to go get the tax account letter. Submitted 820. We just docked it out on the 9th, right? Just a typical loan we get in on for the self-employed. State of Washington purchase. I like this one too. Can I give you an example of someone that may not have quite 2 years self-employment, right? So that's what we call the cash flow program. Not quite 2 years, but you can see what they've done historically. So let's take a look at this bar. Self-employed, that means they own the business. They purchased this concrete business 18 months ago, right? Well, what did they do? Well, this borrower was the general manager for that business for the prior 5 years. Okay, that they're kind of running it anyway, right? Knows how to function, then bought it, and then we can look at the business bank statement and say, yep, the cash flow looks like it's great. Boom, has 20% down. So this makes a lot of sense, right? And so it's submitted 812. We funded it on 9/4. So just another kind of example where you might say no, and you talk to us, and we say, yeah, we have the program for you. Next up, we'll look at some asset program, all right? State of Colorado, all right, Asset Express, purchase, 72 LTV, I'm just looking at this, $1,050,000 purchase price, high FICO, and didn't have to worry about income at all. We don't even have the job or income on their 1003 or on the application. It's none of that because we're qualifying just on assets, right? We submitted this one 9/1, approved on 9/4, very limited conditions. We're going down, going to close this deal on time. Really, the thing we're waiting for is the appraisal and any inspections, and you're off to the races here and getting this deal closed on time. So that's a few of the examples we have of recent closed, and I'm hoping gives you some data of where to do on this, right? It's like when to pivot for non-QM. I think a lot have done so over the last year. And if you haven't, please let us know. We'll have some of our sales managers or highly trained accountants that kind of do a training with you of the programs to be able to answer questions at your office there. We'd love the opportunity to do that and help you close more loans.
Hey, Mr. Greider.
Yes.
Since we've discussed some of these programs, we've talked about the asset, we've talked about the bank statement program, we've talked about, our great DSCR program. How about we ask the masses and we think about let's find out what their favorite program is here that they have with Home
Okay.
Express. What do you think? All
I
right,
love it. I love it.
let's
That's
go
a
ahead on
great
with that.
question to ask, right?
Yeah. So what is your favorite Home Express product? Is it the bank statement or is it the Investor X? And okay, the results are coming in.
I think I know, right?
I think you know. I think you have a pretty good idea, but
Yeah, I do.
we're getting some votes.
I think mine would be the on the lower percentage side. What program I like, right? So,
Oh, here we go. The masses have spoken, and just as you predicted.
what I didn't see the results. What was
Oh,
it?
here, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and let's
Okay, here
share
we
it.
go. Okay, Investor X. Okay. Now, the reason for that is there's been a lot of marketing for it, right? And not only we've done webinars, all these other companies do webinars. You see so much data out there. We've got a lot of acceptance out there, and it's a great program. It is. I love the 12-month bank statement. So the reason why that is because I've been doing this a long time. This DSCR really wasn't part of non-QM and the original thing. It was more of an income doc file or bank statement loans that we took in, way back in 2014, 2015. So that's kind of where we started it, and we expanded from that. And we saw avenues to get into the business purpose, even though it was years ago, but that's it. So we're helping borrowers that wanted to get cash out or buy a home that didn't fit a lot of the requirements that agency had. And that's probably where I kind of stay with, where I love those loans, like, solving those and structuring them so we can get those borrowers that are underserved into their homes and help their families out. So with that, let's take a look at our technology. We did a lot of training on that and webinars over the last 30 days. We've really enhanced our portals and make it user-friendly for you, where you're in control. So you can upload the documents, you can price your own loan. And by the way, if you're on here and you're not approved with us, we can give you access to that. So when we come down to the questions, I'll put my contact information. And if you want access, we'll give you access to the portal. Can look at that. We've got stuff in the resource center that's very useful. One of them that we see a lot is a Rentometer, a Retometer. So we give you a site where you just put in what the home details are, comes back within a minute or two with what's the anticipated rents for this. That'll help you on your Investor X or DSCR loans to kind of know where that's at. So a lot of good tools for you. You have a dashboard. You can check with your pipeline, your scenarios. You can price deals out. You can interface with your highly trained account executive, right? So please kind of get used to that. You can, with a lot, can submit your own loans, right? So you can price the deal out. You can go different things. There's lots of things you can do. Don't have to lock on submission with us. You can float it if you think rates are going down or those types of things. So there's a lot of things you can do, and then you can lock it after you consult with the borrower. I think it's right. We're going to close on this date. Let's get it locked for 30 days, and let's move forward with it. So conditions upload here, and all the feedback I got from our broker partners, they really like it. We're going to enhance it even further for you. Don't forget about the income dash, so you can go in there and click on what you're looking at on loan. I know it's self-employed. I can upload the bank statements, give us some information about their business on a self-employment questionnaire. And within 24 hours, you're going to get an answer with an Excel sheet that, hey, this is the income we can use. Here's the estimated expense factor. And so you can go right to that. So please use this technology. And if you have any questions, you reach out to myself and I'll get you with one of our account executives. So good. We're about 30 minutes in, Albert, which I try to keep the webinars about that time limit. Maybe we'll take some questions.
like we have one question in the chat, Mr. Grider, and it looks like, can stocks be used as assets or do they need to be liquidated?
Great question. Do not have to be liquidated. We take a percentage. So most stock portfolios, we take 90% of that value. Don't, because there's a tax or some type of fees to do. We don't know exactly what it is. So we just use a 90% factor on it. So if you have $100,000 in stocks, 90,000 of that can be used for our asset program. So our asset program is in full, which would be total assets cover the loan amount by 125% after down payment closing costs. But you can also use like that $90,000 as additional income with your bank statements or your W-2 paycheck stub, and just divide by 60 months, and you can add that to 10 of 3 as other income.
Thank you for that, Mr. Grider. Looks like we have a question here that says, why would a borrower want a non-QM loan?
I don't think they know necessarily the difference, and I think it's need-based lending, and that's kind of what I call it. It's like, well, does anybody want a 7.5%, 8% rate? No, I mean it's way better than 8.5 or 9. I get all that, but they have goals for their family, right? Hey, I need to move. My family's expanding. My job's relocating me. Hey, I got a daughter or granddaughter going to college. I'm going to need some money to do that, so they can cash out. And if they're self-employed or something happens, like, hey, it doesn't fit that. And be honest with you, our rates aren't way out above, what the QM rates are, or the conforming rates are. If I'm saying conforming rates are 6.25, I mean, I see loans in here at 7%, 7.5. They're not far off. And if it fills their need, and they're always, if it do that, if they do fix their situation, then it can go conforming. They can rate and term that into the 6% range in a year or two down the road. So I don't think they look at it from that perspective of it's not QM or QM. I think that's more of our terminology. They're saying, hey, I got a need. I need to buy a house. My family's here. I'm moving. I need cash out. What loan programs do you have? And we're trying just to expand the loan programs you have to offer so you can close more loans and actually help out, other people, real estate agents who have been, transactions have been really low. How can we help them as well? And then ultimately we're helping out borrowers in their lives and their families. And that's very much what we do. And then we have that goal. How can we help out more families that are traditionally don't fit the traditional lender guidelines, right? And they're still good borrowers, performance great. It's not that, it's just doesn't fit the box that is set up for them on that.
Thank you for that, Mr. Grider. And it looks like we have a follow-up with regards to the stocks and assets. And it says, can you do that on the CoreX program stocks
Yes.
that David just mentioned, add 90% of the stock value as income?
Yes, absolutely. Right. So got to remember, whether you're on a consumer purpose loan, we're set up with Prime-X CoreX. That just means it might be a little bit different with our guidelines really expand on CoreX. I mean, it just kind of really expands. And the Prime-X kind of know what it is. It's a little bit, basically it's a little bit lower rate because it kind of fits. They have reserves. They know all that. The only reason we're getting the loan is because income docs probably, the tax returns don't work, or, it's 1 year full doc, or it's a loan amount that goes above the conforming limits because that, falls into our category as well. But yes, the stocks are fine. So on our consumer products,
Awesome.
both of them, right? They kind of mirror each other, the Prime-X score. Whatever I can do at Prime-X, I can most likely do on CoreX, and it might be an eighth higher on rate or that kind of stuff, which you have the ability to buy down, hopefully on purchases, because I think this is more of a buyer's market. You're collecting those, getting those credits for that. So you can use that to get down the rate or cover closing costs, part of the negotiation process.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Mr. Grider. And then we do have another question here that says, it's from Duan Jones, and it says, can this be for primary buyers and investors?
I don't know what this means, right? So
Yeah.
okay, so most investors go one or two ways, and I think they want the speed, right? If you look at our thing, speed, ease, and convenience, we have that tagline. So they kind of know going into it, I need to cash out, I got to move fast, or I'm doing a purchase, I want to close, and they have some type of solution for it, right, to do it. So if it's someone really concerned on rate, they might look at, hey, or the DSCR, hey, I don't know, but I want to buy the this house because, 3-5 years from now, I know what I'm going to do with this. So there's strategies that they have. And so do they want to go with a DSCR, right? That means there's no income documentation, very limited conditions. Really, the main condition is the appraisal in 1007 of its units to be 1025, right? And they just get it done. But if they want a little bit lower rate, you can go full doc or bank statement or do some alternative income docs. But that is available as well. And may I point out too that we actually have, as part of our programs, a non-owner occupied for consumer purpose. So when you look at these loans, and I think this is important to kind of point out, is if you're doing a refinance on an investment property, right? Over 50% plus the dollar needs to be for business purpose. If it's lower than that, right, and it's 50% or more for consumer purpose, you need to afford TRID. And we actually have that program for you on our consumer purpose loan. So if you went there and you priced it, what is the goal of this loan? Because I think there's going to be a lot of borrowers that may need, hey, I got equity built up into my rental property, and I'm going to use this as my down payment for my new primary. Now, that is a consumer purpose loan, and you have to afford TRID because that's what the money is being used for. Or if they're going to live in the home any amount of time, I believe it's 2 weeks, then you have to afford TRID. So you kind of know where you're at. But we have the program solution for, and we're able to structure that for you, right? And kind of go through that.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Mr. Grider. And it looks like we have one last question here that says, and it just kind of follows suit while we're talking about business purpose loans. And it says, can a borrower use their income to qualify for a business purpose loan?
Absolutely. Again, it's the purpose of the loan that you're looking at, right? That says the income doc type. So I can go through income docs, and the business purpose can be for business purpose, right? Absolutely.
And it looks like we have a follow-up from from Duan. It says primary meaning living in the home versus non-owner like investors.
That's correct. So I just tried to give you an example of, hey, I want to buy a new primary and I want to put 20% down. I have enough equity to pull out on my investment property. So you're pulling out the money for your down payment for your new primary. That is consumer purpose. And so in those cases, you'd have to afford TRID and put it on a consumer purpose product, which we have for you.
Great, thank you for that. And then we have another question here from Cassie. And it says, what is the process supposed to look like on clearing conditions through HomeX?
Man, great question. Here's kind of the format, how the life of loan goes, kind of that stuff. So you can use the portal yourself, right, to kind of put in everything. You can put your fees in there for title fees, what you're charging, so you can see all the stuff on there, price it out. Typically, you might get with the account executive that's most doing to make sure that's kind of what kind of fits. So you want to go through, and then you can go ahead. Great, I got the minimum submission requirements, which are very small, right? We got four. I think there's 4 items to put on there, right? You need a MISMO file, credit. If you're doing income, you need the income, and then you kind of put in the fees on the screen, right, for what they are, because you get that. Title fees or escrow fees or settlement fees to put those in there. Then you submit the loan, then it goes into our setup. So that's when the disclosures go out, right? And it depends on loan type, what disclosures go out, right? But if it's consumer purpose, you're going to get, the intent to proceed, the LE, all that stuff that needs to go out for e-sign. Then it goes into underwriting, right? And it goes in there. And right now we're about 48, 72 hours because of massive volume. Like I said, we had a record submission day 2 days ago, all time. So we'll be working overtime, I guess. That's what I talked to the ops managers on, trying to get that done for you so we can get that turn times. But then when your approval comes out, well, I think typically we send you a PDF of it, but that's not necessary. That's just kind of a glance for those people who want to look at paper. You go right into the portal and it lists the conditions out for you. You can drag and drop. You can put all those in there. And we're good on conditions. We believe if someone wants to move forward on a loan, we know that right now, we're going to review the conditions within 24 hours. So they just go in there, all right, and you can put them right in there in the portal, and then they go into the queue. The account manager looks at them, verifies that they're there, pushes them over to the underwriter for them to look at, and they actually put notes if something, hey, needs some clarification. Underwriter actually put notes on the condition, what you need, and you're able to reach out to us too. So don't think that you can't. Well, you can. We want that communication there. We want to close every loan that you have there that possible. So that communication is key. Hopefully that answers it, Albert.
Yes, Mr. Grider, thank you for. And then it looks like Cassie's adding some clarification. Says when we are getting conditions back, they're not providing clear notes.
Well, that's the problem. Send me an email on that, and I can take a look at that and what that means. And everybody's got different elements of it. It's like me communicating with somebody else. I might use a term differently or that, and we're not perfect. I'll fly right now. We strive every day to improve. So if there's something we can improve on, I love that feedback, and that's something that you're telling me we need to improve on. I will bring that up and say how we can get that more clarified for you. So if you could send that over to me, I would love that. They got my contact information there, and I can address that if it's not clear.
Yeah, Cassie's asking if she can call you after this.
You
after
can
this
call
webinar.
me after this, right? So my number's there, right? So absolutely.
Yeah, Cassie. So just jot it down and then give Mr. Grider a call. We'd be more than happy to help you out with any issues that you're having. And with that, Mr. Grider, I don't see any more questions that are coming
Wow.
in. So
Wow.
those were all great questions.
They're great. And I appreciate you guys giving us the feedback. Cassie, I thank you so much. We don't know what you don't know. I use that saying a lot, kind of funny, but we don't know. It's like, let us know so we can improve. I think that is great. I can't thank you enough. And I think as a good follow-up to this, what's our next webinar topic going to be, Albert? I think that'd be a good one to go because we're talking about, kind of going to, and pivot to non-QM. Okay, I can buy off of that. I can see how the market there. I can see how it improved. I can see I need to know those. Okay, what's the next step? Well, how do you market for non-QM? What are some of the good tips? What are some of the brokers out there that do quite a bit of this non-QM, already made the pivot? What do they do? So we're going to share some of the ideas that are out there and what's being done to how to market for more non-QM loans. So I think that's a good follow-up topic for us, Albert.
And we did have another question slide in through home plate. Somebody stole home.
Stole home.
Somebody stole home, as we call it in baseball, right?
Yep.
And it says, can we lock for more than 30 days?
Yes, you can. Absolutely. I think it's 45. We might even have 60 days on there, right? Now, why would you do that? It might be cases that you want to do that, right? So these are what you're negotiating with your borrower, right? We want you in control of that. So I'm just giving you examples, right? Most, I think, lock at 30 days, but we have locks that can go further. And if it's a rising rate environment, you want to be able to lock for a longer term. If it's going down, you may want to float, right? But these are calls you need to make. And I honestly think it's going to be relatively flat here on out. And again, that's just me talking out Home Express. I kind of look at the trends. Anything can happen, elections, geopolitically thing. But if things kind of stay normal as we're at, I think it's going to stay fairly flat, right? So kind of keep that in mind as you look at it. But you can talk to your, head economist for your department. That is not me, right? So
awesome, and I think we've cleared all the questions that we have, Mr. Grider. Thank you again, and thanks Dominic for attending. I don't know if we have any closing words, sir.
He just looks good.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, we just want to thank you for taking a little time to spend with us today. We know you're busy. We really appreciate and humbly accept that you guys are working hard, and we just want to be a great partner to you. So thanks again for choosing Home Express, and we hope to see you on the next webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.